Now, Nigerians everywhere in the world are mostly known for hankering for their local cuisine and delicacies, and generally for striving to maintain their identity. Here in Lagos, Agege bread is one of such edible delicacies cherished by both the young and the old, and to a reasonable extent the rich and the poor alike. Now, the delicacy has been exported halfway around the world in Canada by a proud Nigerian who now joins us to share his experience. Wale Rabiu joins us. Thank you very much. And it's good to hear this because I must actually tell you that while I was in Qatar, I met a baker who also decided that one of the best things that can ever happen to a life is to bring that Nigeria flavor and delicacy to those people in Qatar. And it's been a huge success. And it's been quite a welcoming one for that matter. So hearing this also replicated in Canada, my first question is, how has been the reception, especially from those Nigerians in Canada, getting to have that feel again of this very popular Agege bread?
Okay, thanks so much. The reception from Nigerians, I think, let me just say this. My name is Wale Rabiu. Rabiu is Rabiu. So going back to your question, Nigerians living in Canada were actually the ones that are basically responsible for the success of the brand. Because when we started...
Hey, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Oh, okay, so when we started the bread, there were other ethnic nationalities bread available in Ontario, but there was no single Nigerian bakery. So there was no single Nigerian bread. The closest we had then was bread being baked by Ghanaians. Of course, they've been around since like 10, 15 years before we started our own bakery. So that was the closest we had. And that was what mostly Nigerians were eating. And based on our investigation, when we realized the gap in the market, one of the things we realized are more than 60% of those consuming or buying those other breads were Nigerians. So we clearly saw like an advantage, a gap in the market, and a business, a very good business opportunity. And immediately we started. Of course, a lot of Nigerians jumped on it. Okay, let's try it. Because we decided to name it Agege bread. We weren't interested in giving it any name that would not bring it back to the origin of the brand or of the bread itself. But Nigerians have been very supportive. They were excited to see Agege bread, and they were the one that actually accepted the bread before we now were able to move it to other ethnic nationalities, the Indians, the Chinese, even the Canadians. Everybody seems to love the bread and everybody's eating it. So we're not too surprised about the popularity of the bread today. Thank you.
Very good, Wale. Now, logistic-wise, what are the challenges on this export commodity to Canada, Agege bread? What are the challenges you're actually going through to get it through to people over there?
Okay, well, the beauty of it is when it comes to logistics, of course, we didn't have to export the bread from Nigeria anyway. But getting across there, we decided, or we saw the vibrant African grocery markets, African Caribbean grocery markets in Canada. So, of course, my experience, my last position in Nigeria was regional sales manager for M10. I was in charge of the South market, so I have experience in distribution, in sales and marketing. So we decided that there's no point trying to reinvent the wheel. There were hundreds of African Caribbean stores located across Canada, especially in Ontario. So what we decided was to ride on those establishments, and we're able to distribute the bread across, initially to all Nigerians. But after about 2 years in business, the third year, we're able to even get the bread to the mainstream supermarkets, chains of supermarkets in Canada, like the Loblaws, No Frills, Real Canadian Superstore, and that is there. Okay, when you sign up to be a vendor with Loblaw, which is a national franchise in Canada, you have opportunity to sell your product in over 12 different stores across Canada. So logistically, we've been able to ride on the existing network of retail stores to move the bread across to all Nigerians, and even to Canadians as well too.
All right. Finally, let me just throw this one in here. What has been the challenge trying to do this?
Well, the major challenge, as I will put it initially, of course, there are so many challenges in business. Funding will be resolved. But the one that we found very, very difficult to resolve initially was people to do the job. Because of the peculiarity of the Agege bread. Agege bread is not baked the way you bake every other bread in Canada. Agege bread has to be stretchy and all those other characteristics of Agege bread. So one of the things we realized immediately was people that were bakers in Canada, people that were trained bakers in Canada could not or did not understand the science of baking Agege bread, which is peculiar. Even me, myself, I had to leave everything I was doing in Canada to come to Nigeria to come and learn it anyway before we started the bakery. So we ran into the problem of getting people to do the job because we set up the business not because I wanted to be in it or wanted to be involved, baking in the everyday operation of the business. Of course, I had my job. I was working at Rogers as a senior business analyst at that point. So we didn't have people to work. I think that's the basic challenge we had. But of course, that was resolved because we had to apply to the government of Canada. We explained to them that we couldn't get people to do the job. We had a specialized product, a specialized bread, and we got approval to bring people from abroad to come and help us with the baking of the bread. And where else should we look at when we did people come and work from abroad? Of course, we brought people from Nigeria. We brought professional bakers from Nigeria, and they're helping to do a great job in making the bread available. The quality, the same taste, the same quality of an Agege bread in Nigeria is what Canadians and Nigerians in Canada are eating now.
Indeed, and from an entrepreneurial perspective, I'd like to, wish you good luck with the Agege bread, as it were. Wale Rabiu of Matlock Bakery in Canada, thank you for your time.